It's Friday, March 14th. I am Geoff Schwartz. That is Matt Ford. This is Geoff Schwartz. Smarter than you. We're taking this show on the road. I'm in New York. Matt is in Los Angeles, as usual. We had to talk about NFL free agency. So much to get into. We will cover the moves we liked, maybe some moves we did not like. We'll try to avoid hotel furniture discussion because we want to make this
We'll
tight
try.
and smooth, Matt. How are you, buddy? You feel good about your commander so far in free agency? What do we
I'm
think?
feeling great. I really liked that you stood up for them yesterday. It's that bully, Nick Wright, who had them, in the sixth layer of his tiers, just a total abomination by our mutual friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're back on
He
first
had
things first, yeah?
he had 13 tiers. That
Yeah,
was a lot of tears. That was a lot of tears.
that's good.
You know, yeah. But I just said for the Commanders, like his tier, he had a Rams Lions tier. He basically went Eagles, Chiefs, two AFC teams, and then Rams Lions. I was like, you got to put the Commanders up there. You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And he's just bitter because he picked the wrong rookie quarterback to be awesome last year. It's fine. He'll get over it.
I think
Uh,
everyone did.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, everyone liked May too. But you know what? That's revisionist history. So much happened in free agency, Jeff.
Yes.
We can talk about this in any number of ways. I'm just curious right off the top, like what do you think, who impressed you the most? And then we'll get
Yeah.
to maybe who didn't impress you the most. But let's start there. Who impressed you the most in this last week
Yeah.
of free agency?
Well, I think can we include the Bears trades as well? Does that
Sure.
count as a
Yeah.
so? Look, I think what they did and with Ben Johnson, the new head coach, and Ryan Poles, who's an offensive line guy, and was with Kansas City, by the way, when they rebuilt their offensive line after that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, is you have to be able to block, right? And we saw with him in Detroit, like how important it was for that offensive line. And so what did they do, right? They went out and got Dahlman for agency to play center. They got Joe Tooney from the Chiefs, and they got Jonah Jackson from the Rams, who was hurt last year. Remember, Ben Johnson coached him in Detroit. He knows what he's going to get from from Jonah Jackson. But to be able to have those guys in the interior there with Wright at right tackle and Jones at left tackle, you're giving Caleb an opportunity for success, right? Like that's the goal of this, is to set your team up for success for Caleb Williams. Absolutely, right? You want to end this year, I should say, with Caleb Williams being your franchise guy or not, like a definitive answer. The only way you do that is put the pieces in front of him to win. And if he's not the guy, then you have the pieces in place for the next quarterback, right, Matt? So I really like what they did. I also like what the Vikings did. They
Yep.
built their spine. Good buddy of mine, Brandon Thorne, today. They built their spine. I'm stealing that from him from now on, right? They got two offensive linemen, Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze, and they went and got two defensive linemen, your former commander, Jonathan Allen, right? And they went and
Yep.
got Hargrave, and they just built that middle of that spine, right? Like that toughness you need. Sorry if I look up. I'm watching the end of Oregon Michigan State here, just being tortured by college basketball. Your Terrapins play a little bit later today,
Let's go.
in the Big Ten tournament, and so I love what those two teams did. I mean, those two teams feel like two contenders that did the most. I'm not sure the Bears are a contender per se. I think the other team I liked, I think the Carolina Panthers did a great job, Matt.
Yeah.
It's small moves, it's little things that I don't think add up to like them winning a championship, obviously, but it's about getting the best opportunity to succeed with the players you have on the roster. And they had to improve defense, and they did. I also like this, a very small signing, but we're going to end up with Rico Dowdle. Dowdle. I call him Dowdle. Who went to who had 1,000 yards for the Cowboys last year. They got him for $3 million. It's like little moves like that I think were important for the Panthers. So I like what the Panthers did. I like that they just built their defense up, but they had to do it in free agency. They also signed some of their own guys. Anyone else stand out to you? Because there weren't teams that did a ton of stuff in free agency, but those are a couple that stood out to me.
It's funny. I had three options for when you came back to me, and you picked all of them. So I'll take Washington then, because they were also in the mix. I think both Minnesota and Washington are doing something similar. Well, Minnesota clearly has made the JJ McCarthy decision, right? So they both have said, okay, we have about 2 years to maximize this contract before it goes into that fifth year. So we're going to go for it. And I think that Minnesota and Washington kind of did the same thing. They beefed up on the lines. They beefed up in the secondary. And I think they both are sort of like in this next, everyone's kind of done this thing of like, let's maximize our time while we have it. The 49ers seem to try, and now the Bills do, right? But
Yeah.
they feel really clear-eyed about it. And I respect for both of them that they're basically just saying, like, this is our chance. So If we've got the right guy at quarterback, then why not?
Yep.
So I really respect that. I really like what the Rams did. I think the Cup decision had to be hard for them. Devontae Adams was great last year with the terrible quarterback and a very good receiver next to him. I think
Yeah.
he'll be good there. I like the Poona Ford signing too. Um, I just think the Rams all of a sudden now look like the prohibitive favorite in that division, and I'm not sure that anyone would have expected that maybe a month ago. So I thought that they did pretty well. But I gotta say, maybe we just switched right to San Francisco, who's clearly one of the losers. There were a bunch of teams in this free agency who I am completely mystified by what happened to them. The 49ers are the obvious one. I guess they are saving all this money to pay Purdy, but it doesn't even really make sense to me if that's the case. It seems like they might be trading Brandon Ayuk to the Panthers maybe today, which would be very interesting. What do you who least impressed you in this in the last week?
Well, Niners, I think, are just clearly dumping on the season. I don't know. I mean, problem with the Niners, Matt, is that they've had this top heavy team. We've talked about this for years now. And then they have a team where their roster of draft picks for the last 4 years has not been good.
Yep.
There's some potential with some younger players, but just just not just not good enough. And it seems like they're just figured out like, hey man, it we're done. Like our window's closed. We have to make a roster now, knowing our quarterback's gonna make $55 million a year. You know, so that to me feels like where they're at right now. They're hopeful the young guys become good, which I don't really know why there's evidence they're going to do that, right, Matt? They haven't drafted or developed pretty well. So the Niners have punted, but again, like, do you really fault them? Like, should they have kept, Ward at the price? Should they have kept, use check at the price? I just don't know, like, if those guys are winning Super Bowls for them right now.
Yeah.
They might decide like we're just off this window right now.
Yeah,
The Cowboys did
Greenlaw,
nothing.
Fanga. Yeah, can I
Yeah.
say one thing about San Francisco before we go to
Yes.
Dallas, which I'm very excited for? I Why wouldn't you right now, if you're San Francisco, if you're tearing it all down, why not try to trade Brock Purdy for like the Giants pick? Like, why not? Because if these
Okay.
teams, like these
Yeah.
teams that there's three teams left that are still looking for a quarterback, and they're going to decide between Aaron Rodgers and
Russell
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson and I don't even know who else, right? But there are these teams in the top 10. Why wouldn't they at least dangle Purdy out there? Then they don't have to pay him and they
Yeah.
could get another high pick and
So
just restart.
okay, here's why. Um, we see this every free agency. And I talked this about, I feel like, with you for 6 years now. Draft pick bias, right? Draft slot bias, right?
You think it's that?
Yeah, where you look at, so for those who might not know what I'm talking about, here's what it is. You look at where guys get drafted and you see how many chances they get in the NFL and how they get paid. This certainly is happening with Daniel Jones. I mean, he got $14 million
Yeah.
to be a backup quarterback. Like
Yeah.
it's
Marcus
happening. What
Mariota.
happens all the time, right? And I think that's what it is with Brock Purdy, where teams look at him as a seventh round pick, and he might not be dynamic enough to want to trade your third pick overall for him. Like it's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
So I think if they were to get, could they get a couple seconds, maybe second and third, additional 2 and a 3, something like that? I don't. No one's trading a first round pick for a seventh round pick on a rookie contract, and also you got to
Huh.
pay him, right?
Right.
You got to pay him too,
But
which
don't you
is
think there's some
a
team
problem.
that's going to talk themselves into that? Like
No, I mean,
I don't
okay.
know.
So the only team would be the Giants because the Giants need a quarterback in the worst way. Like
Yeah.
they're in a bad place, right? They need a quarterback really, really badly. Um, and I think that they'd be the team to do that. But again, are the Giants a Brock Purdy away from like being really great? I don't think so.
Are
I
they an
feel like the
Aaron
Giants would.
Rodgers away? Like,
No,
what
no,
are their
no.
other
By the way,
options?
I like what they did in free agency. Like I think the Giants keep bolstering that defense. I think their defense is gonna be okay this year. Might be good. No, they're not Aaron Rodgers away, but it's a 1 year deal though. See, the Purdy thing, Matt, is the extension too, right? It's a trading for him and the extension.
I mean, I just think, yeah, I'm looking back at some of their signings. I think they're fine. I mean, Devo is nice, I guess. John Hollins, they have probably overpaid him. Okay. But I think that, I don't know. I mean, if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, everyone's going to get fired. You're going to restart. You're going to piss off neighbors for one more year. Uh, I don't know. I think if you're the Niners and you can get something for Purdy now, you should. But anyways, you were about to go to Dallas, a team that I cannot understand what their plan is. There was a hilarious I'm sure you'll talk about it on First Things First in 45 minutes.
Oh,
A hilarious interchange.
it's on the rundown. Don't worry.
Of course, it is. Any good producer would put that in the A block, I think. So Dallas, they lose a bunch of players. They made it. I don't even really understand what their plan is in free agency. Talk to me about them.
Um, all right. Well, the Cowboys is going to be block F, by the way. Just let you know.
Oh,
So if you
block
want to tune
F.
in for that, yeah.
Second
Well,
hour.
they go basketball first, right? Because the
Oh yeah,
Lakers
yeah,
played last
fair.
night, and then it's right to Aaron Rodgers, and then the Steelers, and then Giants, and Russell Wilson. So, um,
Classic.
I don't know what I have a mock draft today on the show. Just be ready for that.
Oh, great.
I don't know what the Cowboys. I saved a tweet, by the way, that is like, here's their offseason. You ready? Let's see here. I'm gonna find the tweet for you. I actually might use this on the show today. Here's their offseason. You ready? They agreed to deals with Javonte Williams, Robert Jones, Peyton Turner, Jack Sanborn, Miles Sanders. They traded
What?
for Kier Elam, traded for Kenneth Murray. They signed Solomon Thomas. They re-signed Odigizua, Turpin, Hoffman, Bell, Thomas, their long snapper. We got him Tyrus Wheat, Goodwin, their punter Anger, and a safety. Besides Odigizua, got an impact player in that group there.
I don't think
Anyone
so.
making that team better?
Nope. And they lost a good running back in Dowdle. They lost
Yeah.
Marcus Lawrence, who obviously had some injuries and stuff last year. But man, I don't know. I don't really understand what they're seeing, and maybe they're just sort of waiting now for the Eagles to ebb. And but I don't know what they're doing. It's there's a real big gap in that division. There are a couple teams that I just kind of want to talk about because they all kind of fit in the same category for me. And that's these, I think Buffalo and Baltimore Buffalo at least like tried some stuff, but man, don't you feel like they just overpaid their own guys a bit? Like they basically they went in and extended Shakir. They paid for a bunch more of their guys. They obviously add Joey Bosa it's like the same mistake they made with Von Miller. It was like a guy who's on the wrong side of his career. It seems like a good idea, but maybe isn't. And then Baltimore I feel like they obviously kept Ronnie Stanley, but they're a team that's like both those teams feel to me like they think they don't need to do anything because they're so close. But like, don't you need to? Don't you want to push your chips in at some point? Like I feel a little bit disappointed that they didn't really add in free agency this year.
Well, that is a question, right? Like um, how how are they better now to beat the Chiefs?
Right. That's right. I don't see it. I mean, they're hoping
I
the
I
Chiefs are worse, I guess.
I get, and I tell you what. Look, I've been wrong about Kansas City, right? I thought that this year would be a reset year for them, but clearly because Kelsey's coming back, they just aren't doing that, right? Like they went and got more, and they got a corner. Like they sort of going for it again. So yeah, Buffalo and Baltimore, I think, are just looking at like maybe we have to. Well, look, you should always, I think, keep your young guys. I think one trend of free agency, Matt, so far this year, last year, is teams are saying, look, we're not going to let our best players leave. Now, there are teams that aren't like that, the Cowboys, who won't sign Parsons, the Bengals, clearly. But the rest of the teams are like, look, if we have a player we've got them developed, let's keep that guy in our building. I think it's just for team morale, but B, like you want to keep the guys that you're close with, that you've drafted, you spent time investing in. And that feels like what the Bills and Ravens are trying to do here, right? Just keep our core players in place. Now, again, the a lot of times though the winners of free agency, a lot of those contracts end up not being great in the end. Now we'll find out. I mean, I like the Bears and Vikings. Those could be bad deals. We'll find out. But I think the Bills and Ravens look at it as like we don't need to spend that much money. We have young, good football players. We'll draft well again, and they also pay their quarterbacks a ton of money, Matt. And when you pay your quarterback that much money, there isn't much room in free agency.
That's right. I just think for Baltimore, their weaknesses are so obvious, right? Like their secondary needed help. That was their Achilles heel all last year. They didn't address that. Another receiver with Flowers. They get DeAndre Hopkins, who looked pretty cooked to me. Buffalo, like, I get that they like Shakir, but like they're paying Josh Palmer the Amari Cooper contract. It's like they're the same team every year. At some point, I do feel like you have to shake the snow globe a little bit. Um, Another team I found kind of interesting was Denver, who took a lot of risks defensively. I feel like they, I like the Ingram signing for them, but then they spend on Greenlaw, they spend on Hufanga. Um, they're an interesting team because I kind of can't tell them and like the Chargers and the Bucks all kind of fit in the same group for me of like, what do you think you are? Like, do you think you're winning the Super Bowl? Do you think you're close? Like, you're adding to your strengths for Denver. I was kind of curious what you think of them and maybe some of the other teams I mentioned.
Um, I well, I mean, Denver just had to be better, get better in defense, right? I mean, their good defense was good last year, but they just got a little bit better offensively. They need a tight end in the draft, and that's what I'm targeting. Right? They get tight end in the draft, you feel much better offensively. Well, I mean, what are they supposed to
Yeah.
do, Matt? Like I think their roster's not bad, you know.
No, that's kind of what I mean though, is like their defense was their strength last year, and then they had, they're in this same situation with Bo Nix if they like him. I think I just would have liked to see them be a little bit more aggressive. Like if Devontae Adams had ended up there, like that would have been cool, like maybe grab some more offensive weapons. I do like the Ingram signing for them, but I don't know. They're
They
one of those
want. I
teams.
think they want Cooper Cup though, right?
I
That's a
mean,
report.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounded like you might be going to Dallas today, was last I heard. Um, but I don't know. I was a little disappointed that like their offense needed the supercharging, I think, and obviously they can still adjust that. But running back,
I mean,
some weapons.
is it okay? So here's a question with their offense: Is it do they need more weapons, or does Bo Nix have to be better? I think both are probably a little bit true.
Both are true, yeah. But I think if you've got Knicks, if you're going with Knicks, then I think you got to do the Jalen Hurts model with him, and you got to give him all kinds of support and
Well, yeah, I
lots of
mean
different ways to win.
that's an awesome model, though.
Yeah, I mean, of course, easier said than done. But,
Matt,
I think, especially in that division, the Chargers are kind of the same. Like the Chargers, they brought back Mike Williams, they signed
yeah,
Najee Harris. It's like, hey guys, like, are you trying to beat the Chiefs? Like, do you think you're close? Like, I was very confused by what they did. Um, there are these teams that are sort of like in the upper middle class that I just don't really understand what they're doing. It's like, are you in? Are you out? Like, do you have the team you want or do you not? Like,
I,
I think maybe one of my takeaways from this is there are a lot of teams that are happy to just kind of like be in the mix and roll the dice come playoff time. Like the Bucks, if you're them,
that is look. You can't buy everyone, right? Like I know free agency is a time where you feel like you have to buy everyone, but like you don't you don't have to. Like the Chiefs added two pieces, right? Like you can what I mean? Like it's about drafting development, adding a couple pieces here and there. I don't know if those teams were able to get a lot of guys, um, you know, like enough. I should say enough players in free agency to make a difference for the price point. Remember, free agency, you end up paying more than you probably should. I mean, there are deals that were done that I mean, I just never would have guessed that the player would get that much money. So I think teams look to the draft now to fill those holes, Matt.
yeah, and that's totally true. I mean, there's obviously lots of time still left to fill out your roster. I think it's almost more of a like of a signaling. Like there are some teams like who thinks they can win the Super Bowl, right? Like there's 6, 7 teams I think that have pretty clearly signaled like this is a year we're going for it. And then there are the teams that are like Tampa where they're like, yeah, like we've a pretty fun team. Like let's run it back. Let's bring back Chris Godwin. I really like the Hassan Reddick signing for them. But I don't know. I've found it curious but there are some teams that are just like, hey, just like give us a shot in the playoffs and we're gonna be happy, you know?
They just changed a segment, Matt. Is this allowed 40 minutes before the show? They
Of
changed
course.
segments. Is that allowed? What's the cutoff for a producer for changing segments? Like
While it's
up to the
happening,
minute
after it
while it's
airs.
happening? I guess Rodgers and the Vikings are having a little chatty chat, or he's waiting to hear back from Minnesota. Minnesota basically has an offer him a deal. He's waiting to hear back from Minnesota
Oh
about
my
whether or not.
God.
Yeah,
How funny,
yeah.
man. Like the whole Favre thing is too weird, but like that would be a really interesting switch up for them after all the things I just said about they must love McCarthy. Just
I
to
just
bring a
don't know.
guy like that in
I
is
don't.
oof.
I just don't know what are the Vikings waiting for. The answer should be no. If they haven't figured out yet, what are they waiting for? What could they possibly be talking about for days? And they've had weeks to figure this out.
Also, did anyone watch Aaron Rodgers last year? Like, did anyone like sit down and say, like, let me just watch every game that this guy played? He sucks. He's not good anymore. Like, he's just not. It's not like he didn't have like a whole complement of weapons around him.
I I love. It's so funny. I saw a tweet from here's a tweet from a Vikings Twitter account. What's interesting about everything with Aaron Rodgers' situation are the stances insiders are taking. No major steam about Rodgers in Minnesota. NFL Network, ESPN, CBS Sports. Actual steam. Athletic, SI, local media.
Hmm. Yeah,
Vikings are having discussions about what they want to do at quarterback if they want Rodgers. Like, what is the discussion?
I don't know, man. With all this Rodgers stuff, there's a lot of
Do
smoke,
you do you,
and
do you to where to where?
just in general. I mean, whenever someone's sitting out there for this long, and every show is talking about them, and there is this sort of gravitational pull with him. I mean, I don't know, man. He hasn't had a good season now in 4 years. Granted, that was I
Yeah,
think an MVP season. And I just like he's not going to be better. I don't understand. The Jets cut him and went with Justin Fields and are convinced they have
correct.
upgraded their team. And this is the guy that we're fighting for. Like,
Oh
I
wait, you might have just ridden my talking point today. Can I repeat that on the
yeah, please. Can we talk
and as
about
soon as
that for the Justin Fields thing for a second? Like the Justin Fields thing and the Colts quarterback situations just make me so sad. Like the fact that Justin Fields, what he got a 1 year deal, right? Or was it two? He's gonna go in there. It's a
I
one
think
essentially.
it's a one essentially. Yeah, it's like
Like we
one.
know
It's like
it.
two. Yeah,
We know what
we know
this
what's gonna
Jets season
happen.
is going to
Th-
be.
This is
We know
it's
it.
draft slot biased again.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, it should be noted. This is a seventh round pick saying it, and I think you're right. Like it's just people are sort of like, yeah, Justin Fields, like he had a few moments and he will again. And the Jets will probably start out like, 2-1, and everyone will be all excited. And then they'll finish, 4-13 or 6-11 or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's so tough, dude. I think I still think if they have a shot at a quarterback in the draft, that's another big thing that's been happening this week is there's so much talk about Shedeur Sanders. Mina said she heard he might slip out of the first round, which I thought was unbelievable. What are you with Shedeur after the last
I'll
couple
give
weeks?
you a preview of the mock draft. He's going second in my mock draft to Cleveland. So
Second,
that's well here.
tell me.
Okay, here's why. So let me pull up my email, my notes for the show I'm doing later today. So I'm going to list you I did the mock draft. I'm going to list you the quarterbacks that Cleveland has. Here's my sent. Here we go. The quarterbacks Cleveland has had. Okay, you ready for the ready?
I'm ready. I'm
The
picturing
last
that jersey in my
the
head.
last 2 years. Okay, here's who the quarterbacks they've had start: Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson Robinson, Bailey Zappi, and Jeff Driscoll. Are they going into this season with Kenny Pickett as their starting quarterback?
It's a great point. It's a great
Or
point.
just or just like are they gonna draft Jalen Milrow in the second round? Like that's what they're gonna do?
I think they would be crazy not to uh consider Shedeur at number two, unless they really don't think he's good. I just think I think you're right. I think unless you have your quarterback, you got to just keep taking swings. Like you just got to find him. Like a team
Correct.
like that, should act desperately. They have not ever really had a franchise quarterback, and as soon as they
Correct.
can get rid of Watson, they will. He's not playing this year.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should bet that because I think it's probably right. Like what
They
else are
don't
they
they
going
don't
to do? They're going to draft Carter.
I don't think they have exactas up right now. Like exact like draft positions.
Yeah. I mean, there was all that talk about Tennessee not maybe it's like I think Tennessee is pretty clearly taking Ward at this point.
Oh, I think they're driving. I think the Giants are going to trade up.
You think the Giants are going to trade up? Interesting. What
Yeah.
tell me.
Well, so part of being in Indianapolis is you get to hear things. You know, I was there for that couple of days, and um, the Giants want to save their jobs, and they don't get Aaron Rodgers. Their quarterback on the roster right now is Tommy DeVito. That's it. Are they going to end this free agency with Tommy DeVito quarterback?
Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Isn't there another team that's still looking like there's Pittsburgh, there's the Giants,
I
and I
mean,
guess and
and
there's Cleveland.
Cleveland, who's going to draft, and but those teams they can draft quarterbacks though, except Pittsburgh because they draft like they're like 20 or whatever, 21.
Yeah. Well, Pittsburgh will end up with one of those veterans. You have to think whether it's Wilson
Correct.
coming back. So it's
Yes.
going to be between Cleveland and the Giants,
Yes.
probably who don't have a real quarterback, and at
Right.
least the Browns have Kenny Pickett. Who can at least start. But
Yeah.
man, that is really brutal. This is what I'm saying. You don't think that Brock Purdy can get a high pick at this point? The
And then
35th pick
and
isn't a
then
bad
Mac
pick.
and then Mac Jones, then Mac Jones.
What else what else are they doing? They've torn it all down. Like at that point, if they're trading Ayuk, like they might as well trade McCaffrey. They might as well just start this thing over. Like if that's where they are.
Um, yeah, sure. I mean, it's if they're getting rid of everyone. I this is a good year to do that. I mean, they have 12 draft picks. Niners do. I think they're just in the point where like they're looking to the future now.
Yeah.
Are paying Brock
So
Purdy and playing young guys.
then what's the point? I mean, you're going to talk about Brock Purdy plenty with Nick. I'm sure. I know you did yesterday. Like if you're not willing to, if you're going to pay him $60 million, then you're saying that that's your quarterback. Like, I don't know. You basically have to either say, this is our franchise quarterback right now. He is the answer. We're building around him. We're ready to compete at any year because he is that good. Or you don't feel that way. And if you don't feel that way, get Christian McCaffrey out of there. You can get a good pick for him. Like there's a bunch of teams that would trade for him, I would think.
Yeah. At least
Yeah.
your Commanders don't have to worry about that.
What?
Trading up for quarterback. You found yours. Must be nice.
It's
Every year we've done this for like 12 years in a row now.
I can't dude, I've been there. We were on the show live when they traded for Carson Wentz. Do you remember this? Or maybe it happened
I
like
hope
two
not,
minutes
because remember,
before.
remember, remember, we don't talk about him.
Yeah, but like that, and I was like, okay, like whatever, like we can figure it out. And then like that's where we were 3 years ago. And
Yeah.
here we are. But it's tough times for the Colts fans out there, the Browns fans. Tough times, man.
Um. All right. What else you got, buddy? Because I gotta change. I gotta look pretty. I gotta get some hair and makeup done. I gotta look good for the show.
Yeah,
TV.
I mean,
It adds,
I
it, adds,
think
it adds 10 pounds.
it does. I'm
You call me fat? Jeez.
no, I don't know. What am I
Dude.
supposed to
So
say to
no,
that?
no. So, dude. So, how about this? So, yesterday, I told my kids, hey, I'm on channel 219. Like, maybe they want to watch me. Do you think they watch a second yesterday of me on
I,
TV for 2 hours?
that I don't.
Z-
I'm
z-
imagining not, which is a shame. It was good.
0 seconds, 0 seconds. You wait till you have kids and you tell them something really awesome, like, oh, you got to be on TV, and they just don't care at all.
I'll
you'll
never
be,
be able to tell them that, but you will.
oh, dude, you might. Hey, our show is going. You never know. You've been on TV before.
I have been on TV before, and
Wait,
I've
were you for garbage time?
yeah, I was on once or twice there. Yeah,
And of course,
but
your first
there are
ever
some producers
live
who
stream.
honestly who just are like doing it so they can appear on camera sometimes. It's never been me. I love doing this, but it's never been a big dream of mine. My appearances are
Wait,
often brief.
your dream wasn't to put on 30 t-shirts and walk around a hotel room?
Do you know that I basically have pitched that to to more people?
Really?
Yeah. I think we might be doing the opposite of that for someone else. I don't want to spoil it, but it's
Wait,
it's a
the
good
op,
bit.
the op, putting clothes back on
Putting shirts on, yes. It's
for
obviously
every bet they
funnier.
hit or lose.
I think the pitch is put on a shirt for everyone. You have to give a take for all these teams. It's like one shirt's on, another shirt's on, another shirt's on, and by the end, it's like you've got 40 shirts on. It's a pretty good visual.
You do you own a shirt company? You like shirt company? You like shirts? I like this idea.
I mean, buddy, it was a killer bit. The bit Jeff's talking about was the segment was called "Win the Shirt Off My Back," and I wore every shirt that I owned. And on a live stream, I kept removing shirts for every prop bet that we had for the Super Bowl. But with Geoff, it was like the first time we'd ever met, and I just kept like
Yeah.
whirling him over my head and throwing him at you, and you were like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Okay, but guys, when we say stream, it was like one camera in a poorly lit hotel room in
Yep.
February 2018 for Eagles Patriots Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
2018. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a great Super Bowl.
it's a great game. I don't know how many
Yep.
bets I won. Yeah,
I didn't win it. I didn't win a thing.
I think college basketball today. I'm heavy in college basketball. We got the tournament time. Are you gonna bend your terrapins tonight or what? Are you gonna watch a game? Are you into? I don't know if you're into Maryland basketball or not.
Yeah, no, I definitely in the tournament. I'll be locked in for the Big Ten. It's what's the line tonight?
Um, you're the second. You're the third game. Maryland favored by a point and a half over Illinois.
Huh.
Illinois
Interesting.
is hit or miss though. Like
Yeah.
Illinois, they can be really good or really bad. They've had injuries this year. Maryland's more consistent. Sometimes the double bye, you start a little bit slow. Didn't happen with Michigan State today.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think their eyes are on the tournament, but so it wouldn't shock me if I feel like they come out flat in the conference tournaments every year. But hey man, I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun March. We'll talk some college hoops on here in the next couple of weeks.
It'll certainly be fun. All right, buddy. I gotta go. We'll do a longer one next week as I get back to home and whatnot. All right. You got anything else, Matt? Sorry, I cut this
No,
short.
say
I
hi,
gotta get
say hi to
dressed.
Nick for me
Yeah,
and
I
have a great
will.
show. I'll see you out there.
Thank you, guys. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. We'll do maybe a longer. We'll do like a real winners and losers. We'll rank teams and whatnot. We'll look at roster needs for the draft. We can schedule our mock draft. By the way, isn't it already in the calendar? I think it's already in the calendar.
It better be
I think it is. So
the best day of the year.
All right, guys.
Blue Dog Christmas.
Short pod today. Talk to you guys next week. We'll cover some more NFL. We'll stop blabbering so much. All right, guys. Take care.